Welcome, everybody. My name is Anne Jouseveld. I'm a pre-conference chair at UXPA International, and I'm here with Jen Romano, who is our conference co-chair. And we are honored today to talk with Jon Temple, Tyler Waite, Jason Telner, and Annette Tassone on they journey to UX and they conference course that they are going to present. So let's start to talk about a little bit on how did you end up where you are today in UX, your career path, how did you start? And anybody can start, like.
I'll start then. So I originally started in psychology. So I'm a cognitive psychologist. In fact, several of us on this call are, a PhD, and then did some postdocs in like human computer interaction. And I wasn't thinking about UX at all, although it was always something that I knew was possible for me to go into. I originally did a postdoc at the Naval Research Lab in DC. And as I started explore and look at what was kind of open, including looking at academia, it sort of led me to the path that people were telling me since I was an undergraduate that was my destiny. They all said, "You're going to do computers." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm a psychologist. I'm a psychologist." And then before you knew it, that's exactly what I did. I ended up joining IBM about 28 years ago. And I've been doing UX research and design ever since. And in terms of those skill sets, you sort of like you come in with one skill set and then you acquire more and more to kind of build out what they call the T-shape. So I feel like I am a full-blown designer now as well as a researcher, but obviously there's a certain order to that.
Okay, nice.
Who wants to go next?
You can
Yeah, I'll
popcorn.
go. That sounds. I first discovered HCI human factors in my undergrad. I took a career exploration course, and I learned about this field of human factors. I thought, wow, it combines art and also analytics and psychology, and it's making things better. I thought that's my interest. That's where I want to go. Unfortunately, the school I was at didn't have a human factors program, so I did psychology, really enjoyed psychology. I went to University of Illinois to do human factors there. They were kind of focused a lot on aviation, and I really kind of wanted to do more computer interface, so I switched to Indiana University and did more with usability and HCI there. Unfortunately, I didn't complete my PhD. It got a little too expensive. I got through everything except for the final research project. And then I said, I need to get a real job that pays. And so I actually did the first company I worked for was a startup that was doing augmented reality. This is back in the early 2000s, and that was really fun, but it was still early days of augmented reality. They couldn't keep their funding, so I switched, came out to Seattle for Microsoft, worked for them for a few years. I've been at IBM since 2015, started doing UX design, interactive design. But for the past 5 years, I've been doing more data analysis. So the past 5 years have been focused more on employee surveys and analyzing that information. And that's kind of what shifted my career right now to more of a data science, data analytics focus, which I've enjoyed a lot. There's still a lot of UX aspects and just creating a dashboard that makes sense and conveys your story to the stakeholders. As the UX researchers, that's something we have to do a lot, right? Is how do we present our data effectively? And all of that skills has helped me to what I'm doing now. And even just anybody, I think the main focus of what we're going to be teaching, right, is kind of that mix of data science and UX. So I think just learning a little bit about what is out there with like Python and some of these other software tools, I think would be really useful for any UX and human factors professional.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Who do you want to go next?
I can jump in.
Yeah.
All right. Annette Tassone. I started similar with a love for psychology in undergrad. And then as I was looking toward graduate school, I thought I would go into IO psychology and personality and motivation interests me. And then I realized it felt very soft. So then I switched to human factors and ergonomics and did doctoral work in that, with a lot of focus on on perception, visual perception. And the natural application of that, of course, is the design of products and across in many areas. I happen to be in New Jersey, so all the jobs, many of the jobs were in telecom. So I started my first job in insurance. I had done a lot of pre-work in telecoms, in mobile devices, and then eventually did work at Bell Labs for a few years. I was lucky enough to travel during my career, with my family, so I worked for British Airways at some point while I was in the UK. Then I became a contractor while I was also traveling. So I've been in many locations, many different areas, and eventually landed at IBM and been here for the last 13 years. And so as many people who come up in the psych field, you in your early jobs, you end up doing the research, the design, the research again, right? You do the whole thing. If you're lucky enough, if you have a visual designer on the team. But we were at IBM, there was a while where we had the full spectrum of the practices, and we're able to really specialize in our area. And during that time, I did begin to specialize in research, and doing a little bit less of design, but that research, of course, would drive the strategy and design decisions. And more recently, with this emphasis on AI, as well as the importance on data and metrics, I have been more focused on metrics, our strategy, and right now our AI UX metric strategy of defining, implementing, getting teams on board for synchronization. And that, of course, means working very closely with data scientists and trying to pick up those skills as well. So, thank you.
I will go last, but hopefully not least. So I'm Jason
Certainly
Telner,
not.
and I have a very similar background to all the people on this call. Also, my roots are in psychology. I did a Bachelor of Science program through psychology and biology, so neuroscience, I guess. And when I was finishing up my degree, I was exploring areas. I really wanted to apply psychology to everyday problems. So one area that I considered, and I actually got into grad school, was industrial organizational psychology. And then I did an internship in my last year of my undergrad with a prof who consulted for this company based in Guelph, Ontario, which is where I did my undergraduate degree. It's a town outside of Toronto, and he was a consultant at this company in Guelph called Human Systems, which does a lot of military contract work. And that introduced me to the whole area of human factors, and I really enjoyed it after doing the internship. And then I decided to pursue that in graduate school. So I went to University of Toronto through their engineering school, which, I thought initially was going to be a challenge because I was one of the few people who was not an engineer in that program. So, the prof was wondering if I had the math background, but I took quite a bit of statistics and calculus in my undergrad. So I did survive through that program. And then I finished off with my PhD through a psych department. So I kind of bounced around engineering and psych. So I got the design background and the more technical components, and then more of the behavioral, user testing, statistics through my doctorate. And I was able to work on some really interesting projects with air traffic control and aviation. And then I worked on some stuff with night vision devices. And then my first job out of graduate school, because there were very few, I was interested maybe in doing a postdoc, but I ended up getting a great job at Honeywell in Minnesota. And I was able to work on some really real world human factors types of problems with energy control and medical devices, process control. So I did site visits to refineries, looking at their shift handover logs. And then I eventually pivoted into more consulting. So I pivoted quite a bit in my career, mainly because of how the job market has shifted. So I've gone from sort of, core human factors out to more consulting and even data analytics, and then, eventually into UX and user experience, which, brings me to my most recent role at IBM, where I was, mainly focused on customer support applications for UX. But I spanned a lot of different areas, really based on where the work was, going from medical to customer support to even, some things to do with AI and chatbots. So I moved around quite a bit. So, and right now I'm kind of also at another sort of crossroads in my career where I have found a new opportunity. I haven't even started it yet. I'm still continuing to consult for that company that I did my internship at. But I am, I'm on the verge of, getting a new role with a new company. So yeah, that's my story.
Yep. And I'd like to add one more thing because everyone mentioned at some point human factors, and I didn't, which is really sad because actually that was very, very important for me. That was not my graduate training. Oddly enough, I mean, I think it's fine because I want to illustrate that you can take a zag kind of path to going into UX. My PhD was cognitive psychology, but my specialty was actually psycholinguistics. So I mostly focused on things like metaphor and figurative language and creating statistical models for that, as well as how to test it. But my view was when it came time for a job, I could always do a postdoc and you don't have to get another degree. It's the same skills, even though it's a different domain. So NRL was the first one in human-computer interaction, but then I did another one for actually 3 years. It's kind of significant postdoc at the University of Cincinnati with doctors Joel Warm and Dr. Dember. And that was in human automation and human factors. So we worked so beautifully together, and it was probably a highlight of my career, to be honest, to be able to work with those fellows. So I actually do have a very in-depth human factors experience. It's just not what I went to school with. I just picked it up as a postdoc. So
awesome. This is the great thing about the UX. It's a multidisciplinary team
yes.
and domain. So we get so many interesting people from the interesting backgrounds. But you have very interesting, very kind of deep backgrounds. But what is up with you, like in work-wise today? What are the topics that you are working with currently?
Can I blurt it out? AI?
Yeah.
Is this a shock?
What a surprise.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us are all doing at some point, if not too long ago, currently doing a lot with AI. And one of the things we're trying to show is that you really do need proper user research as well as data science to really get a very good picture of how these things work. I feel like a lot of AI out there is very tech forward, very engineering focused, and there's this sort of implicit trust me, bro, that all going to somehow work. But I'm more of the school trust but verify, and guess what? You verify. So and also because I have another hat, I also do a lot with design with AI and not just the traditional stuff, which is just like shove everything to a chat bot, but I can do that, obviously doing that, but also trying to do some like more interesting things with AI than just conversation, because I think you can do lots of things.
I think one of the things that brought us together, it was we worked together like on patents. One of the things I've really enjoyed at IBM is their openness to anybody kind of submitting an idea and patenting it. And to John's point, one of the most recent patents we've got approved was related to AI and making AI more user-friendly and helping to kind of break down the support it provides. And so I think that's been one of my favorite things about working at IBM has been that ability for somebody who doesn't necessarily have all of the technical background, but can still kind of propose ideas of things we would like to see out in the market and actually have it listened to and supported. So,
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's certainly unique.
Yeah.
We don't hear a lot of a lot of companies being proponents or support, not just supporting, encouraging patents, right? Like that seems to be something that's very unique about IBM.
Yeah, and that particular patent, the best part is when we were going forward to the IDT, that's the group that basically judges whether or not it goes forward. And it's gotten very competitive in the last couple of years. They kept asking me, so when are you going to build it? When are you going to build it? And I'm like, well, get the patent through first, and maybe we'll build it. But a lot of interest.
UX patents are tough. I mean, it's a tough sell to a patent, to a patent committee and a patent lawyer because it's not as detailed technically as a lot of the other technology, but we've been able to do it, which has been great. How do you patent in UX?
Yeah.
And so then what does that mean for folks who are not familiar? So once you have a patent and you're not
Well,
building it, what does that mean?
Right.
Oh, once you have a patent and you're not building it?
If you're not building, yeah,
Yeah.
if somebody else has the idea, like what is the process? What does it mean once you have a patent?
Well, I can say
Well,
what
it means
doesn't
you're
happen. None of us get rich.
No.
No.
you're not making a lot of money on the patent per se, unless it goes to market. So if you have no plans to actually build it, then, you know, financially, you're probably not going to benefit, but you're still protecting the idea. So you're precluding others from hopefully building it with that patent. And any company, you know, I mean, any company you work for essentially owns your patent. So if they were to go ahead and build it, I don't know if there would be any incentives for the patenters. Maybe, I don't know.
IBM does give us small financial awards for it. I know
Yes,
Google does a little bit more when they with theirs. But the main thing, it is a long process. It takes can take 6 months from you submitting an idea before you get it reviewed, and then it can take 2 years, well, probably another 3 months before it gets written up by the lawyers, and then another 2 years before it's officially declared a patent. So it's not something quick for sure, but for me, it's just being able to kind of present an idea and have all these really smart people at IBM go, yeah, that's actually something novel, something that I think we should, protect. And it's been and you can, once it's published, you can put it on your resume. You can have a link on Google Patents that shows your work. And I have been surprised. What we present is like we have 15 minutes to present the idea, and it's like 7 slides in a PowerPoint with like some flows and some mock-ups. And then you have a lawyer that helps you then put it into the legalese of the patent. And so that's what's been the big help. I think you, as UX people, right, we just naturally think about, oh, it'd be great if there was this kind of thing, or oh, if this was just like that, it would be so much better. And that's what I've been so happy with the patents is that's what I'm presenting, right? I'm saying, here's this idea I have, and here's this technology that could be approved, and here's kind of a flow of how it will go together. And then I have other people that come in and help me write that up into something that's technical and is what the patent office needs. We don't write the legalese, the lawyers
But
do.
they have a real art for writing it because they write it in a way where they broaden it out so it protects the most IP. So you could have an idea that might be fairly narrow or apply, which is generally not the best idea, but the lawyers will take that and broaden the application so it protects everything in the space. So then no one else can come out with an idea that's, sort of similar to it.
In fact, one patent idea we didn't submit, so we'll give it away for free if you want it. It's basically an invention, an AI that basically reads our submitted patent applications after the attorney is done and translates it back into English. So you can actually, I think that'd be incredibly useful.
Okay, it's like that, like the language translation when you translate something.
It explains to me as a 5-year-old, right?
Yes,
Exactly.
explain to me what my patent is because I no longer understand it the way it's written.
Anyway,
Back to your question, and though, like Jon answered AI, and so as you know, like many companies, it's all gas, right? But we're a team that puts structure and order to things, so we're also spending a lot of time now of trying to get teams to pull back and build in some best practices, the guidance, the structure, because we still need to say how we're doing, and we haven't had enough cycles with the pace we're going at to build that in. And so we're working at building those structures in with all of the teams that are so busy with enabling AI into our workplace tools.
Okay, let's thank you for sharing. That's very interesting, and I hope that a lot of UX people are kind of starting to think about the patterns and AI in a different way. But if we are talking about the UXPA conference, User Experience Professionals Association's annual conference will be in June 16 to 19 in Amsterdam this year, and you are teaching a course on 16th. And the course name is Data Science and UX Smarter Together. Tell me about this course. How did you come up with the idea and decided to share the knowledge?
I could talk a little bit. So this is actually based on a presentation that the 4 of us did. I think it was 2 years ago. So we all conceived this idea because some of us were actually working between teams, like myself and Tyler were working between data science teams and UX teams. So, we thought, how does each area benefit the other? And, it's really a synergistic, symbiotic relationship where, if you don't have one, the other area. So for UX, if you don't have data science, UX, is kind of lacking. There's a lot of blind spots. But the same thing with data science. If you're doing data science where you have a lot of data and you don't have the UX piece, you miss a lot of the why and the motivations for your data, your survey data. So they really complement each other, and that's really how the idea came about for the course. Well, the course is really a product of the paper or the presentation that we gave. So we're going into more detail on it. We're teaching a lot of these techniques that are involved in the various applications that we used in the presentation to exemplify sort of the synergy between these methods. So we'll talk about, tools to do various types of analysis, regression analysis, structural equation modeling, k-means. There's a whole bunch, even using, coding methods like very beginner Python to analyze text comments. So there's all kinds of ways you can bring data science tools and techniques to enhance your UX findings and research.
I love it. I love it. A lot of people want to grow in their quant, and this seems like a great,
Absolutely. A lot of companies are actually requiring that, especially if it's, they're doing more quant research. They're really wanting a lot of the data science skills. I know that because I've recently been on the job market, and they're actually, requiring at least proficiency in Python and R. Like they want those skills for what would seemingly be just UX type roles with surveys, but they still want those really core quant skills like Python and R, which are not easy they're not easy to acquire. I mean, you can't just take one course and call yourself a proficient Python programmer. Their languages, there's a lot to know in those.
Yeah, and specifically with related to the text analysis that Jason mentioned. So as I mentioned, my role for the past 5 years has been surveys. And so with surveys, you get a lot of open-end comments, and going through those and trying to hand code them is very time consuming. And so I came across some tutorials in Python on how to automatically code comments. You create a training file that you've coded, said, here's what this sentence should be like. And, you go through a set of them where you manually add categories. And then the script will take that, and then it will apply the rules of probability to kind of look at new comments and say, oh, well, this comment probably goes to this category because it has these certain words that appeared quite a bit in a category that you identified. So one part of this workshop is we'll be going over that script and kind of explaining to people how they could set this up to kind of go through your comments quicker. And the thing I like about it, it's applying categories that you've defined, right? There are some AI tools where the AI just kind of says, oh, I think this is a category. This script is using categories you've defined. What are the topics that you find most important and valuable in your data? And then it's using that to kind of predict how to categorize the new comments. So it's not perfect. No AI is going to be perfect, but it's definitely helped me get through a lot more comments faster. So I'm hoping it'll be useful to other people who take the course.
Awesome. And what are you looking forward with the UXPA conference?
Definitely networking. And also I have some friends / colleagues through the years that are in Europe, so I'm hoping to see them there. Yeah. And hearing about all the other activities that our fellow practitioners are doing with AI. For me, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yep.
Definitely theme this year, data and AI. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Yep. And we're also giving, Annette and Jason and I are also giving a separate paper on UX metrics for AI. So just a short pump for that.
Yeah.
How to workshop.
Definitely going to join that presentation.
Right. Great.
Yes. So where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you?
I think LinkedIn is probably the easiest.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Okay.
And with
We'll
your name, just
Yeah. Yeah.
Just type the name in. I won't swear that we're the only people with that name in the entire world, but we have faces too, so it works okay.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah.
Awesome. We'll be sure to provide the links as well.
Excellent.
Just one more comment regarding the course. And while it might seem that it's advanced, our goal is not to make it advanced. Our goal is for you to give people to have a few dedicated hours to be thinking about of adding this to their toolbox without committing too much time. And the conference is the perfect time to do that. A few dedicated hours to learn about some of the options, how it might help you specifically as a UX practitioner.
Mhm.
Definitely. And I'd also add is because many people, I think, will have maybe psychology or human factors backgrounds and so forth. We do try to kind of bridge that gap, bridge the gap between what the techniques you might be familiar with, remind people of what techniques we've traditionally used for these things and what they're good for, but also how the data science version of it can complement that and give you insights you may not have got through the traditional techniques. So we're going to try to help bridge it as well, to relate it to things that you might know and then extend it to these new techniques that make you more powerful researcher.
Awesome. I love it.
awesome. Thank you so much for this this conversation. Looking forward to seeing you at the conference.
Can't wait
Yeah.
to see you as well.
Yeah.
You in
Likewise.
Amsterdam.
Good to see you.
Yes.
A great city. It's this great city. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you all. We'll
Very
see you
well.
soon.
Thanks.
Thank you for
Okay.
inviting
Bye.
us.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.